Yeah, there you are, Joey Logano. Welcome aboard. Glad you could join us here as we get prepared for Sunday's Coca-Cola 600. Just walk through your impressions of Darlington and your anticipation going into Sunday's race at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Well, I think, first off, you think about just how different everything was, right? Having practice, the social distancing, not being able to be with your team much. I've gotten very good, as it looks like everyone else here is, at Zoom calls. That is my jam at this point. I just go from one to the other. I've been on them all morning already. So, but they've been, we've all found new ways to make things work, whether we're at the racetrack or at home preparing for the races. And I think NASCAR did a great job. I know not everyone was able to be there over the weekend, but I think everything went as smooth as you can possibly hope for the first two races. So a lot of credit to NASCAR, a lot of credit to the leaders in our sport, whether it's, owners, team principals of any sort, OEMs, everyone worked together to make this happen. So proud to be a part of that group. And our races went okay, not as good as we wanted them to. Darlington 1 was, we took off a little bit too far off, and it had some issues, and just didn't go the way we wanted it to, and ended with a flat tire. And the second race, we were able to make some good changes to our car, which everybody does, and that's the hard thing to do. Is when you go back to the second race, everyone's going to be better. And I'd say our net gain compared to our competition was better, and we ended up finishing 6th with that and grabbing some stage points. Not where we want to be yet. Circumstances changed a little bit. We have another restart. I believe a top 5, maybe a top 3 was sitting in front of us. But that's the way the rain fell. So we'll kind of move on to the next one. So overall, still a decent start to the season. We've had some ups and downs, but still more ups and downs, so that's good.
We're going to open the floor for questions. We're going to start with Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM Radio. Go ahead, Claire.
Joey, seeing how incredible the Darlington race was, right? And now we're going to an endurance race, but it was really good racing. Started out at Darlington. Everybody was kind of careful, except for several, but, it all worked out. Second race, really good. What about how things might change as we roll into the Coca-Cola 600, what we might see?
Well, the Coke 600 is a crown jewel event. It's always been that way for us. It's such a big deal to try to win that one. I've come so close, finished 2nd there last year. Just want to get that one done so bad. But, that racetrack with this 550 rules package is pretty intense on these restarts. There's going to be 3-4 wide racing. There's more room at Charlotte than there is at Darlington. So there's going to be, some more aggressive moves that you'll see. I expect the outside lane still to be the dominant one and that to be something we got to fight through. But, I do think that this is going to be, yes, it's 600 miles and it's a long one, but I guarantee you those restarts are going to be super intense, because once you get 15, 20 laps into the run, it just gets harder and harder to pass. But for the first 15 laps, 20 laps, it's going to be game on, where we're going to be very intense out there and pushing, shoving.
Do you feel like you guys are back to racing how you were racing at the start of the season? Everybody's felt it out. You're used to the protocol. And thanks for hanging out with us today.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's all kind of gone back to normal, if you ask me. The protocol part's a little weird, but it is what it is, and I'm glad we're doing it. Don't get me wrong. But as far as once you're strapped to the car and racing, nothing's different. Nothing at all. The way you communicate to your team, we're used to being secluded inside of a race car and only communicating to your radio. Like, that's what we do. That's our job. Nothing changes for the driver's standpoint. Now, for the pit crews and the team, that's a little bit different. But, at least from the driver's side right now, it's pretty similar.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Jenna Fryer. Go ahead with your question, Jenna.
Hey, Joey, I've got a question. It's sort of a wide view question. You guys had a lot of eyes on you coming back. Everybody was looking at NASCAR. You pulled off 2 successful races. The Xfinity Series race was good. I'm wondering if you think that NASCAR's got some sort of momentum right now, and how you are looking at the sport overall in terms of, this NASCAR is back situation.
Awesome. One of my favorite lines I've heard this whole time was, "Don't let a good crisis go to waste." And at this point, yes, there is a lot of risks that we are all weighing out and concerns, and there's a lot of people that are trying to weather the storm, whether they're financially with their job or physically with their health. There's a lot of things up in the air, but there's also a lot of opportunity that sits in front of us as all these businesses are shut down and industries are shut down. And for us to find a way to get back to the racetrack as a sport, as an industry, and get back to work before most was an amazing opportunity I think NASCAR saw. And it was important for everybody on this call for that to happen, for all of our livelihoods, every one of us. And that's something that, like I said, I'm proud to be part of this sport, to be able to do that and do this in the safest way we possibly can. I know I feel plenty safe at the racetrack. I've said it before, I feel safer at the racetrack than I do at the grocery store, and I really do, at this point. So, we had a big opportunity in front of us. We took it, and it's paying off right now. I think when you look at the ratings and we're putting on good races, we're finding ways to race close to home so we don't have to worry about travel. Everyone is kind of throwing all the old stuff out of the way of, oh, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do that. And we pretty much thrown that out and said, whatever it takes. That's the attitude we got. And that's the reason why you see success in our sport right now.
The flip side is now you go to the longest race of the season, which can be a long one, as we know, and can be difficult for non-hardcore NASCAR fans to stick with for 600 miles. How important is it for the 600 to be a good show now that you have all these eyes on the sport? And thanks for your time today.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the Coke 600 because there's more racing to watch. And we're able to kind of give the fans either one, right? You're going to have some shorter races to watch. You got the Xfinity races, and I believe the trucks are running as well. So there's shorter races to watch if you don't want to watch a long one. But as far as the 600, you can't shorten that race. You just can't. It's Coke 600. No one call it the Coke 300 or 400. It's the Coca-Cola 600. We cannot change that. It's a crown jewel event. We must keep it the same, and that's what we're doing. Because if I was watching the special during the rain delay this weekend about the 600 and the history behind it and all, it just got me excited to race in that race this weekend. I'm glad we're keeping it the same. I think fans will enjoy it either way. Like I said, it's a good racetrack, and it's going to be intense out there from lap one. At this point, nobody saves their car and says, oh, I got to make sure I have brakes on, it's 100% from lap one. It's not 1975 anymore. We're hammered down every lap. So the intensity is there the whole time.
Okay. Our next question will come from Kelly Crandall. Go ahead with the question, Kelly.
Hey, Joey, I got 2. First off, running 2 cup races in the span of about 4 days after a 10-week break. Physically, have you felt any differently? Was it more tiring than normal? How did you feel after these 2 races?
I feel okay. I feel fine. I think for me, I took the opportunity when we had all this time off to keep training and try to become stronger because I know that this many races on top of each other is going to be a big challenge. At this point, I feel okay. We're only 2 races in. But I think as we kind of keep going, it's going to take a toll on.
Did we lose Joey Logano?
Did you lose me there for a second?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm back.
Good.
I was saying if we get in a crash, that'll be kind of the more challenging piece to recover from, because you're getting right back in. So there's always going to be soreness that you're going to have to work through. But for the first 2 races, it's been normal, no contact. It's been fine. My body feels good. It'll be harder as we keep going, but right now, everything's good. Everything's good. I've been getting my Planet Fitness workouts in. That's been making it happen.
The second thing I wanted to ask is, after a break like this where teams haven't been in the shop and you're turning around cars quickly and you guys are jumping back in, how important has the Ford simulator been to not only help teams but maybe drivers just log some laps? And have you been in the simulator?
Yeah. No, I haven't been to the simulator. Not really my thing. If anyone watched these iRacing races, video games are not my deal. And more of a got to be there in person and work through it. I do believe there's a lot of gains in simulation, in the simulation world. And definitely a little bit less experience there. But I feel like right now for me and Paul, the conversations that we've been having to build our cars and be ready is kind of the direction we want to go. Not because we don't feel like, we're being lazy and don't want to go to it. No, we're still working and just kind of doing it. It's a good tool. It's a tool that, if used the correct way, you can learn a few things here and there. If you put too much weight into it, you can totally dial yourself out. So it's just like any other tool, right? Just like anything else we use or do, there's limitations, and we need to be aware of what those are, kind of move up to them. So it's a tool that we use for certain racetracks as we prepare. But at this point, it's not one that we've used since we've got through this pandemic.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Jeff Gluck. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, Joey, obviously the outside was quite the preferred groove there at Darlington. It made a difference on every restart. And I saw Austin Dillon yesterday trying to whip up the choose cone thing again. So I wanted to ask you, what's your take on the – I see your fist pump already. What's your take on the choose cone?
Been bringing it up for years. It's not news to, I think, any driver here. Every meeting that I'm in, I've always brought up choose rule. Let's do it. It's I see nothing negative that it can bring. It brings another strategy to the table. Definitely something to talk about. You don't have luck coming involved. Whether you see guys hitting the brakes at the end of pit road. Number one, that's not real safe. But two, you try to line yourself up sixth, and then the car in front of you gets a speeding penalty. Like, I gave up a spot, and now I'm on the bottom too, and then I really blew it. That happens out there so many times that everybody's trying to play this game. So, just put a cone out there and say go left or right, and where you are. If you change after that, you go to the end of the line, and you're out. And to me, it sounds simple. It's an easy thing to do. I think right now it might be tough because we have plenty of change right now with everything that we're doing. So I think we need to give a little bit of grace here. But I do think in the future it's something I would love to try. I would love to have that in our sport. I think most of us have ran races with the choose rule or put the cone out there at some point in our careers. And I tell you, if I see a bunch of 12-year-olds do it, it's a summer at Charlotte Motor Speedway, I'm pretty sure all of us probably figure it out.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Mark Garrow. Go ahead with your question, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Joey. There are pre-race shows for every race, and that is a big deal for every race. But with Charlotte, it's always a little bit bigger. The military, you've got bombs going off, people being dropped in by helicopter, all that kind of stuff for the Coca-Cola 600. How different is that going to be not to have any of that?
Well, I don't know if that's quite the case that we're not going to have any of that. We're going to have quite a bit of that still. I don't know the exact details, but I know, we're going to have names on our cars from fallen soldiers. I'm sure knowing Charlotte Motor Speedway for the last few years that that have been in the sport, I know they always find a way, especially with Coca-Cola, to find a way to honor our men and women that have served our country for our freedom. You know, and I know Fox will probably have a big presentation as well. So when you say none of that, I think that's way off.
Well, I mean, physically. I mean, no. I know we're going to honor, and you know that it just seems like that always gets everybody a little more jacked up, a little more electrified. You know, I'm talking about physically. We'll do a lot of stuff, obviously, to honor the military, but I'm just talking about just physically being there in all the pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, I can't tell you till I get there. Like I said, I think there'll still be some form of that for sure going on, whether that's American flags throughout our teams and pit crews that bring things like that to the racetrack. We'll be honoring in every possible way that we can. You know, maybe there won't be the big show that's on the front straightaway that we maybe some of us have gotten used to, but it won't be in the back of, you know, our minds. It'll be in the front of our minds of what that weekend's about.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Our next question will come from Dustin Long. Go ahead with your question, Dustin.
A couple of things. Joey, just your thoughts about seeing another competitor salute another competitor on the track like Chase Elliott did the other night, and just kind of what your thoughts were when you saw that as that happened. And did you have Chase Elliott as the first one to do that in the driver pool?
I didn't see it till afterwards, which was a big letdown. That's not what was happening. It was pretty good. I don't know. Not my deal. I'm not involved in it. I'm involved in plenty. I'm choosing to stay out of this one.
I'm also curious, just since you've had a couple races, a lot of times after races, sometimes you'll want to talk to a driver, whether it's a discussion of, hey, I was a little bit upset, or sometimes even maybe like the end of the Xfinity race, if you've been in a race like with Chase and Kyle, you have this great performance, this great battle. Well, maybe the second place guy goes to victory lane and congratulates the winner, or just talks about what those last few laps are like. What is it like post race now? And is it more in terms of communicating with a fellow competitor? Is it more about texting, even if it's something like, hey, really enjoyed racing with you today, as opposed to maybe you would have walked up and just kind of had a brief discussion?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, typically you get out of the car and, you know, you may just go to the car behind you or in front of you that you're just racing. Or I'm mad and I hate you, or whatever it is. You know, now you get out of the car, you put your mask on, and you kind of just walk away, which is weird. But, you know, yeah, we have communication still. You know, I've been in touch with a couple of drivers this week, just talking about the race itself. Not good or bad, just saying, hey, that was cool, or what do you think of this moment, or yada, yada, whatever. You know, so now a conflict, I'm not really sure how that works. It might be a good thing for me anyway. Is normally I want to talk about it in person, because that's just the type of person I am, is I just want to talk about it right now, and maybe this is playing my hand a little bit.
Thank you.
Our final question will come from Lee Spencer. Go ahead with your question, Lee.
Hey, Joey. Just kind of curious. Roush had a dominant run. The Fords had a dominant run at the Coca-Cola 600, but the last one was 2002. What does a Ford have to do to get back into victory lane at Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600?
Well, go faster than everybody, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the reasons why. You know, I can think of quite a few 600s that, at least a 22, and that's kind of the only one I can control, has been very close to winning. I think I got a few seconds and thirds there, and have yet to break through. And as a Coca-Cola driver, believe me, I know how big of a deal it is to win that thing, you know, and feel the pressure to do it. So I want to get it done. Been, like you said, close. Why? Truex last year and win the race. So yeah, there's different things every time, you know, and it takes the whole package to make it happen, right? I mean, the driver's got to be on his game, the picker's got to be on it, the car's got to be good, and things got to fall your way. So I guess just for the recent years, it hasn't for the Ford guys, but I wouldn't bet money against us this week.
Good deal. Well, Joey, thank you for taking the time to join us today, and good luck on Sunday.
All right. Thanks, guys. Stay safe. Appreciate you.
Good deal, all. And I'll be closing out this room, and then we'll be opening up the new room for Chase